This is a story about an incident that took place at one of the most luxurious shopping malls in the city, a place where high-end stores and wealthy shoppers were a regular sight. The mall was famous for its elite status, but one day, it became the stage for an event that would change everything. The mall's manager, Sam, was a man who took great pride in his position. He often acted as though he were superior to others and sometimes treated customers with disdain, especially those he thought didn't belong in such a high-end environment. Sam believed that success and wealth made people worthy of respect, and he had little patience for people he deemed ordinary. One afternoon, a billionaire named Richard entered the mall. Richard was an African-American businessman, highly successful, with a vast fortune from his various companies. Despite his immense wealth, Richard was humble and respectful, always treating people with dignity, no matter their background. That day, Richard decided to shop at one of the most exclusive boutiques in the mall. As he walked up to the counter with a few luxury items in hand, Sam, who was at the checkout, gave him a quick glance. He didn't think much of Richard at first, and in fact, he looked down on him due to his casual appearance. Sam assumed that someone like Richard, dressed in simple but elegant clothing, could not possibly be a high-profile person. As Richard handed over his credit card to pay, Sam took a look at the bill, then looked at Richard and said, "This seems like a mistake. I think you're having trouble understanding the charges. Let me fix this for you." Richard raised an eyebrow, surprised at the comment. "What did you just say?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. Sam continued, "I'm just saying, it seems like you don't really understand the value of what you're buying. Maybe you should double-check your bill." Sam said it in a condescending tone, still assuming that Richard couldn't be wealthy or sophisticated enough to know how to shop in such a place. Richard was taken aback by the blatant disrespect. He paused for a moment, holding back his emotions. "You're mistaken," he said quietly. "I understand the value of what I'm buying perfectly fine. But what you don't seem to understand is that I deserve respect, just like anyone else. And I'm not here to be treated like I don't belong." Sam, still not grasping the weight of his words, laughed and said, "Look, you're just a customer. People like you, people from backgrounds like yours, don't belong in places like this. You don't even look the part of someone who could afford this kind of shopping." Richard was hurt but kept his composure. He looked Sam directly in the eye and said, "I am a billionaire. I don't need to prove my worth to you or anyone else. And I definitely don't need to be humiliated by someone who's too arrogant to see beyond their own prejudices." At that moment, Richard decided he'd had enough. He put his credit card back into his wallet, leaving his items behind, and turned to leave. "I'm done here," he said. "But you should know, the way you treat people says more about you than it does about them." Sam, still caught up in his own arrogance, didn't understand what had just happened. But as Richard walked away, a few customers who had witnessed the interaction began to murmur in disbelief. They were shocked by Sam's behavior, and the tension in the air was palpable. Word quickly spread to the mall's owner, Arjun. He immediately arranged a meeting with Sam. "Sam, I've just heard what happened," Arjun said sternly. "You disrespected one of our most important customers. Someone who is not only a billionaire but also someone who deserves respect just like anyone else who walks through our doors." Arjun then turned to Richard, apologizing profusely. "Mr. Richard, I am truly sorry for what happened here. This is not the way we treat our customers. I hope you can forgive the behavior of my staff. We are grateful for your business, and we respect you greatly." Richard, who had already calmed down, nodded in response. "Thank you, Arjun. I appreciate your apology." The day after the incident, Richard sat quietly in his office, reflecting on everything that had happened at the mall. He couldn't stop thinking about how he had been treated just because of the color of his skin. Though he kept his composure in that moment, he realized this wasn't just about him. This was about a much larger issue. It wasn't just his humiliation, it was a reflection of a society that needed change. Richard knew he had the power to do something about it. He had built his wealth with hard work and ambition, but now, He wanted to use it for something that could make a real difference. What had happened to him at the mall wasn't just an isolated incident. It was a reminder of how ingrained prejudice could be, and how much work was left to do in society. That's when he decided he wasn't going to just walk away. He would buy the mall. He realized that sometimes you have to take matters into your own hands to create real change. He could use his resources to send a message about respect, equality, and the kind of service that treats everyone, no matter their background, with dignity. And so, Richard moved fast. Within a few hours, he contacted his lawyers and financial advisors, and the process of purchasing the mall began. When the deal was done, Richard took full control. The first thing he did was call Arjun, the mall's owner, to set up a meeting. The following afternoon, Arjun arrived at Richard's office, looking both surprised and curious. "Richard, I didn't expect to see you again so soon. I thought everything had been settled between us," Arjun said, still trying to make sense of the situation. Richard, sitting behind his desk, gave a calm smile. "Well, Arjun, I've decided to buy the mall." Arjun's eyes widened. "What? You bought the mall?" "Yes," Richard replied, his voice steady. "I believe it needs a change. A real change. And I want to lead that change. I've spent enough time in the business world to know that what matters isn't just profit. It's about fairness, respect, and treating every customer with the dignity they deserve." Arjun, initially shocked, looked at Richard thoughtfully. "But why the mall? Why not just take legal action, or maybe file a complaint?" Richard leaned forward slightly, his expression serious. "Because this isn't just about a personal issue. It's about a bigger culture problem. The way people are treated. The way customers are seen. I've worked in businesses long enough to know that real change comes from the top. I believe this mall can become a symbol of what happens when respect is at the heart of business." Arjun paused for a moment, processing Richard's words. He knew Richard was serious, and there was something about his conviction that impressed him. "I get it. If you're serious about making a change, I'm with you. I'll do whatever I can to support you in this." Richard smiled. "Thank you, Arjun. I don't want to erase everything you've built here, but we need a fresh start. A start where respect and fairness are non-negotiable." The next day, Richard took full control of the mall. His first step was to meet with the staff. Many employees, who had witnessed the incident with Sam, were uncertain about the changes ahead. They had seen how customers were treated, and they weren't sure what to expect now. Richard stood in front of the employees and spoke with quiet confidence. "I know many of you are wondering what's going to change now that I own the mall. Let me tell you this. The way we treat people will be our number one priority from now on. This will be a place where every single person, no matter who they are or where they come from, is treated with the utmost respect." The employees, who had been uncertain at first, began to nod in agreement. Richard's words were clear, and there was something powerful about his vision. This wasn't just about business. It was about creating a space where everyone, from staff to customers, felt valued. Arjun, who stayed on as a consultant during the transition, witnessed firsthand how Richard's leadership transformed the mall. Customers returned, not just because of the luxury items, but because of the new atmosphere, one that felt welcoming, respectful, and inclusive. As for Sam, the former manager, he was offered the opportunity to stay and adapt to the new values of the mall, but he chose to leave instead, unable to change his ways. Richard made it clear that there would be zero tolerance for any form of discrimination or disrespect. Richard's decision showed the world that leadership isn't just about wealth or power. It's about using what you have to make a meaningful difference. The mall, once a symbol of exclusivity, became a beacon of respect and equality. Richard's message was clear. True success is not just about what you achieve, it's about how you treat others along the way.